So based on the user testing, we revised our prototype. So I'm just going to highlight the areas of the prototype that we modified. So one area that users provided feedback on was this the initial landing screen. The intent was it was to show recent contacts made with the Hello device, and users were confused by what this actually meant, recent contacts and the date. So they sort of provided feedback that they would prefer to see just all the contacts, perhaps sorted by the date of the last meeting. And they also provided feedback that it might be useful to see the actual events and the number of contacts established at each event. So taking that feedback, we went ahead and modified the landing screen. So now it shows a list of all users. Theoretically, this would be scrollable. It shows the date that the first contact was established with that user or that contact, as well as a listing sorted by date of the last contact made, the last meeting date made, and where it was. We also added this menu filter here, so users could choose to see it by first meeting or last meeting, or see it in location groups. So now this is just sorted by the location groups with the date, location, and a number indicating how many contacts were established within that group. And theoretically, you clicked on that, it would bring up a screen that just showed those contacts. And you could extend this filter system if you wanted to add more filtering options for the user. Another area that people provided feedback on was modification of the user's own profile card. So originally, in the original prototype, that was achieved by clicking on your card, and then you could go to edit and you could make changes. Every user. Now this is modeled off an iPhone. This is how you access the same menu in an iPhone. Most users actually didn't, or actually I don't think any of the users found their way through that mechanism. Everybody tried to go through to the settings menu to try to modify their own profile. So we added that ability here. So now you can go to settings and you can click on my profile to start editing your own profile. You can still get there through the previous means too, of going to your contact and selecting edit. Something we noticed that was missing from the original prototype, users didn't actually pick this up, but we noticed that we didn't actually have a way to delete a contact. So we added this mechanism so you could go in and theoretically actually delete a contact. And yes, you can delete your own contact. This is actually modeled off the iPhone, which also provides the ability to delete your own contact if you wanted to. We also provided the ability to just demonstrate how you would go about editing the contact. So in this case, if you were in the edit screen, you select the field you want to edit. I would have typed it in, maybe hit enter. Now the save button would appear only if I've made a change, whereas in the original prototype, the save button appeared regardless if you made a change or not. So there was no way to notify the user that something had been modified. So now that only appears if a change has been made. The other piece of feedback we got from users was when you did hit the save. So if I hit the save on the original prototype, I don't have any feedback that it actually did anything. Now when I hit save, I get a little message, temporary message that indicates what it's doing. Users also did not like, in the previous prototype, they did not like this X as a way to cancel or exit out of a screen. They thought a back button or maybe a done button would be a more appropriate way to exit out. So we made that modification here too. So now we replace the X with a button that clearly says done. Something else to share information with other users. Our original prototype didn't address sharing information or selecting what information got shared with additional users. Now we have the ability that you can choose what information you might want to share by default through these switches. And I'll show you what the sharing screens that we added look like now. So now if I go ahead and do a sharing request, so if I was at a conference and another user had this device and they requested with me to share information, like you might do if you were trying to exchange business cards, now you would get a notification on your phone like this that a share request was made. You could maybe get a screen like this. You could choose to reject the request, or at this point, this would theoretically be filled in with the default share parameters that you've selected, and then you can choose whether or not to add more parameters if you wish, and share. And same thing as with the saving menu, we added some sort of feedback to let the user know that the sharing, their share activity was occurring. Another place where we provided feedback, or we were given feedback. Oops, a second here. Was on the notifications. So if I get a notification right now, in the original prototype, I just showed 2 pieces of information that were fixed pieces of information. Users indicated that they would like maybe up to 3 pieces of information that they could customize. So with the new prototype, we added so a couple fields that they could theoretically customize and show the information that they're interested in, which could be it could be the business that the person works at, or it could be their email address, it could be some other piece of information about them. And the final change that we made, we'll just get through this, is on the history, the way that the history is initially shown. So in the original prototype, when you clicked on history, you're provided this screen, which let you kind of select whether you wanted to see history grouped by event, or all the photos for that particular contact, or all the audio for that particular contact. Users didn't like that they had to go through this layer of interaction to get to the history data. So instead, based on that feedback, we just bring them to the landing screen that has all the information about that person, and they can cycle through using these little arrows the events that contain data on that person. So this would be all the data for that contact from this particular meeting. We met this contact 3 times in this scenario. There's another meeting on a different date and different location. All the audio and video collected for that user on that day. And we also added this menu that would then would bring you back to the original landing screen, which would still provide the function that if you just want to see all photos from all meetings, or all audio, or filter by event, you could still do that here. And taking the feedback about getting rid of the X's, which were on the original screen. The original screen had these X's to kind of cancel out and go back. We added a back button, so they just get back to where they were. And those are the primary changes based on the feedback we received from user testing.